Now, the second thing on our Family Feud game that I mentioned being a fail is we may not realize that we need to prep our clients for the unconscious biases that some sellers may have. I have on the screen National Association of Realtors, their Fair Housing Corner. They talk about how love letters may actually become liability letters. And this can be done in several ways, but in today's video, I want to discuss the fact that when it comes to fair housing, love letters may actually either prey on those unconscious biases or may cause the seller to ignore your offer because of their unconscious biases, right? We know with fair housing that our protected classes include race, religion, familial status, but to prey on, to mention in a love letter any one of these statuses, and now the seller has to decide, well, do I like your religion? Or do I like families versus single people or empty nesters versus growing families? Do I like any of these off limit protected classes? We have just unfortunately helped to compromise our client's ability to get their offer heard, seen, and accepted. So, with this, we've got to know that we're in a market, and this is any market, but right now, look at this. We've got news reports, and there's been several of these talking about how the housing shortage, and this is in most of the country, not everywhere, but most of the country, is making housing discrimination much easier. I'll just read this statement. It says the Fair Housing Act protects Americans from discrimination based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial status, and disability. What personal cover letters ask is for people to show that they'll be nice and normal. A family you'd be happy to live next to if your neighbors were to move. This opens the door, y'all, to people's subjective measures of what that means. If you're more likely to feel a connection to someone who looks like you, who has a similar background as you, that can lead to discriminating against people based on any of the protected classes that fair housing is meant to safeguard. And again, ultimately, it's illegal. It's illegal. So we need to be the voice of fair housing and tell our clients, especially when we're representing the buyer and especially when we represent the seller. So all times we need to tell people, and even let me back up. I know some of you may work with landlords and tenants. So same thing. We need to be the voice of fair housing. And we need to let people know that fair housing means we're not going to show preferential treatment or deny someone based on any of these classes. And unfortunately, if I write a letter about how my family of 5 children would love to grow up here, and this is the school district we've always wanted, that often means we may get preferential treatment simply because our family may look like the seller's family. That's wrong and it's illegal. Okay. So, with that being said, we need to, one, discourage our buyers from doing home love letters, particularly if the love letter is going to cover any one of the protected classes. If they're going to mention their race, color, if they want to put a photo in it, if they're going to use their names, which again may indicate a national origin or even a religion, that's a no. We need to stay as far away from that as possible. And of course, if you're the listing agent, this is much easier for you to control. You can strip all of this information from your offer so that your client only sees what's important, and that is all of the details about the offer as far as the price, how many days, any contingencies, and so forth. But our clients do not need to see names, do not need to see photos, do not need to hear stories that again point to a racial or national origin or religious or sexual or familial status or disability class. We want to stay as far away from that as possible. And I know in 2021 and beyond, unfortunately, I'm sure this will be true if you're watching this video in another year, I'm showing on the screen news articles just from this year that shows that unfortunately fair housing is still hit or miss. Fair housing, even though it is the law and we have a duty to uphold as an industry, it is still hit or miss in our industry. So we, real estate professional, it's our duty to make sure our clients are aware of this dynamic and that we are doing everything we can to educate them on how to not play into unintentional, unconscious biases or intentional biases, right? Keep in mind, it's our responsibility to educate our clients. We don't have to be afraid to educate them. I feel like that's some of the pushback that I hear from agents. Our clients don't do this every day. That's why they've hired us. So it's an opportunity for us to lovingly educate them. We don't have to beat them over the head, right? But we can lovingly share with them when they say things like what I have on the screen. We'd love for someone like us to live in our home. Maybe that's the seller who, again, you don't represent and you can't control them saying that. But if you are the listing agent, absolutely, you need to focus on, hey, the goal is to sell your home for the best price and or speed. That's what we want to do. We don't need to worry about any of these other things because they are illegal. Let's say it. Let's start naming it. These things are illegal. And again, on the buyer side, we have to remind people that maybe a seller is thinking that. Maybe a seller is thinking, we've raised our children in this home. This home means everything to us. And we'd love for someone that looks like us to be in this home. Well, you may not look like them, whether it's familial status, right? Maybe you don't have 5 children, or maybe you aren't of the same religion, or whatever it is that's a protected class. The less they have to see that, the less likely any unconscious, implicit biases are going to come into play. So we can do our job by mitigating and removing as much of that information and helping our clients understand that, again, this is the world that we live in. So again, just as a repeat, we real estate professionals, not only do we have the right, but it's frankly our duty to intercept violations of the Fair Housing Act. This is what we're here to do. So let's